what year did you join the Outlaws?
That would have been somewhere around like 2005 to 2007 and 8.
Okay. So between 2005, 2007, 8, you joined. What's that process? How does that happen?
Well, I'll tell you, join is probably not the correct word, because a lot of your normal MO is you hang out, you become a probate. If you make it through probation, you get your cut. On that particular case, we were working, and don't get me wrong, I would have loved to have a cut.
What is a cut?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm talking as if everybody knows the 1%er biker world, or just the biker world. That's your leather vest.
Okay.
So, like, if you're the Outlaws have their leather cut, and their mascot is the cross pistons with the skull, and the skull is Charlie. And then there's history always going way back. But what we did as a team is, and again, I would have loved to have a cut, but over the last 30, 40 years, there are so many law enforcement officers that have infiltrated biker gangs and gotten the cut, but the case didn't go well, or maybe they lost themselves, or just there's so many variables, especially when you're dealing with violent people that can turn like that. You know, it's just I thought around 2006-ish, I'm like, man, I'm not even in the middle of my career yet, and I'm already doing one of these cases. I mean, I want to have like 4 of these done, you know? And what I found as the years went on is the stars really have to align to be deep undercover in a violent group where things could just happen. Somebody gets murdered. Somebody finds out the source is a source and they beat them up, or you just something happens to where even the FBI is like, we're out. We're closing this case. We're not doing it. And that's kind of what started happening over the years. Several of them I started again, but for whatever reason, that worked really well in the Outlaws. And what I did is I hung out. I let them kind of see me, get myself known, and then I never joined. They asked me to join, but I never joined because I was portraying a high-ranking member of an international theft ring. So anything that was stolen, me and my truckers were moving it to McAllen in the border, which I knew all about, you know, because they did. They would bring stuff down and trade it for dope, trade guns for dope with the cartel, and vice versa. And then you always had some, not all, but there was always an element of corruption around the border, whether it be a small town police department with only 4 people, you know, and then, you know, you're only making $15,000 to $20,000 a year, and the cartel says, hey, I'll give you 10 to 15 grand, anywhere from 5 to 15 grand for you to just turn your head for 3 minutes and let me drive through. Yeah, that's sometimes that's hard to go up against.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like what when you start though, like you walk in the bar, the biker club, like what's the who makes the connection? Not necessarily the person's name, but like how do you even go about doing something like that?
Well, what you hope for is that your case team has great intelligence. So if you're coming in as an undercover, hopefully they've already been on these people long enough to say, hey, that guy right there, he is an attention, you know, hoe. He's got to have attention. He loves to be surrounded by big guys. That's good stuff to know, because back then I was running about 6'4", 280 whatever pounds. And of course, in Massachusetts, as soon as I open my mouth with this accent, people are like, where are you from? You know? So you can use that. I use that to my advantage. And what I did is I was at the bar they usually hang out at, and then I just kind of got to know people and do my thing. And then the night they came in, now, you know, who the hell's that guy? Well, that's Tex. He comes up here all the time. And then things start happening. And, you know, somebody yells something at you, you send a drink back and forth. And then next thing you know, you're invited to the Northeast Regional, you know, meetup. And you go into a sea of black leather and testosterone, and everybody's looking at you like, who the hell are you? And the more people you meet, the more scrutinized you are. And so that's kind of how I did it. Almost like a hanger. That's what they would call that, a hang around.
Yeah.
But then somewhere in all that, and again, they have to be predicated. So you got to realize in the undercover world, the evidence is usually so overwhelming. I'm telling you, 99.9% of the people I've ever been on undercover against, they all plead guilty. Because the only thing they can really do, the defense can really do, is either claim entrapment or try to make you look like a bad person on the stand. So
Yeah. So you kind of infiltrate them in a way. You're on the phone. Hey, John, you want to go hang out? Let's go grab a beer. And then you start making deals. How does that work?
So that's what I was trying to get to. I go off on tangents. I apologize, but they have to be predicated, right? Like if we have no evidence that you've ever dealt dope or nothing, like I can't come up and start talking. I mean, that we can start getting into entrapment issues there, you know.
Interesting.
So hey, you're broke, and I'm offering you $30,000 to move this kilo. Well, I kind of entrapped you there, right? So a lot of these members were already predicated on dope deals and stuff and arrests that they'd seen there, but really there wasn't a whole lot I had to wait for, because as soon as I said I was from McAllen, Texas, the president of that chapter said, "How much can you get a kilo for? And can you bring me one?" And I'm like, well, that was fast.
Yeah.
So as time went on in that case, you know, they start finding out that I actually do some illegal stuff too, you know, and then they start seeing some things I do, whether it's, you know, a truckload, and it all started with them. They were doing insurance scams where they would report their motorcycle or car stolen, sell it to me for a price. They don't know what I'm getting for it in Mexico.
Right.
And then I supposedly take the vehicles all down to Mexico, and they get their insurance money. And then it started like that. But once we started gaining trust with people, next thing you know, there's a legit carjacking, which is a pretty serious crime.
Yeah.
And they need to get rid of that vehicle that was carjacked. But it has, it wasn't OnStar back then. I think it was called LoJack or something like that way back then, right? And they're like, hey, this thing's got a tracker on it. Well, don't worry about it. You know, we got this. And then you start gaining more trust. And then there was a time where a Hell's Angel president was shot and killed in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And another Hell's Angel was with him, and he got shot, but he didn't die. And he was able to say, hey, it was a green pickup truck with Florida plates. Well, we knew that Florida members were up, you know, and then I'm on the phone with them while the case team in Boston is running a wiretap, which is not like TV. You can't just call and say, I want to tap this phone. That is not how it works. It's like 80-page affidavits. It's got to get all kinds of levels of approval. Every 15 days you have to do updates. It's only good for 30 days, and you're always starting back over. But they're running that, and we're calling and try to find out, hey, what can I find out? And they're like, hey, you might want to stay out. It's pretty hot right now. I'm like, if I come in, can you hook me up with a vest and stuff? Because I don't want to be flying on a plane with that. And you just keep gaining more trust. And eventually we led to the point to where, again, predicated. But we led to a point to where we did a drug protection. We had 40 kilos of cocaine, real, 1,000 pounds of weed, and they met other undercovers, and because the whole thing was the president especially wanted a pipeline into a drug supply. His math and business skills were not that great because he's thinking that if a kilo in deep South Texas costs $13,000, he thinks he can pay me $13,000 for that kilo, and I'm like, why do you think the kilos up here cost around 25 to 30 grand? I go, it's because you got to bring it from Texas. You're not getting it for 13.
Right.
But that's what we did. Everybody wanted to take the case RICO. If you would have done a RICO prosecution for that case after the 2 years that I was undercover and probably the 3+ they worked on it, we could have wrapped in a lot more members from Florida all the way up, but it just didn't go that way with the United States Attorney's Office.